I've kind of prepped myself for this through reading the LEBANON trilogy, and so I'm excited but also very frightened. I'm not ready. I'm really not ready. It's fine. It is completely okay. It's not okay. It's not okay whatsoever. Like... Hi friends, my name is Joel and welcome back to my booktube channel. If you have yet to check out my DIY bookish candle making video, I would highly recommend you go check that out because I attempted to make bookish candles based off of the Black Veins by Asia Monet, and I think it turned out quite well. And if you've yet to check out my Twitter nor my Bookstagram, I would highly recommend you go check that out as well because I post some extra bookish content that you won't see here. For today's video, I am bringing you another reading vlog, and this time it's a series that has been highly requested that I read on this channel and has been highly requested that I read for the longest time. I mean, so many people have been asking that I read this series, although I think the biggest person most of all has been May from Forever and Everly. I'll have her blog linked in the description down below. That series in question is the Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, the sequel, The Dragon Republic, and then the third book, The Burning God. And I'm really scared. Like, let's be real, I'm really scared to read this because the amount of smiles that May and everyone else has been sending me just scares me, and I'm not prepared. This series does come with a lot of trigger warnings as well, so I'll have them displayed in the description, but also on a quick flash now. I have a group chat now of people who have read The Poppy War, the first book at least, and so I'm going to be spouting all of like my live reactions in there whilst also giving you a lot of reactions whilst I read. The group chat, which I named the SINEGUARD ACADEMIANS, also had some predictions. They think I'll be a Charlton stan, they think I'll love Ramza and Kite, and I'll love the strategy and military tactics within the novel, and I think that strategy and military tactics is something that I am quite intrigued by and quite like interested in, and it's something that like if it makes sense to me then I'm like, ooh, okay, this is some good writing. And also they told me particular things that I should react to, so my reaction schedule, I'm going to do part 1, then chapters 10 and 11 together, then part 2 and chapter 21, because apparently chapter 21 is a lot, and then the entirety of part 3. One thing that does slightly bug me though is that the Poppy War and the Dragon Republic are 2 different editions, and so the Dragon Republic is ever so slightly taller than the Poppy War, which means I'm probably gonna have to like get the Dragon Republic in the US edition. I'm really excited to be getting into this because a lot of people like Rhea and V and May have said that this will feed a lot into my writing inspiration. It's gonna be great, and I'm really scared as well because obviously everyone has been suffering, but I've kind of prepped myself for this through reading the LEBANON trilogy, and so I'm excited but also very frightened. Rebecca might tear out my heart, she might claw it to pieces. I don't know. I don't know. My friends have gotten me so scared to read this series, and it is currently 11:45 and I'm planning on starting the Poppy War at 12 o'clock. So to those who do not know what the Poppy War is about, it basically follows Rin, who basically aced the Keiju, which is a empire-wide test in order to get into the academies of SINEGUARD, which is the most elite military school in the Nakata Empire. Rin is a dark-skinned peasant girl, and so she faces a lot of scrutiny from her peers in SINEGUARD. Because of this, she unleashes a lethal, unearthly power, and through exploring the depths of her gifts, she realizes that the gods that she thought were dead are actually very much alive. Mastering her powers can be more than just surviving school. A third Poppy War is on the horizon between the Nakata Empire and the Federation of Mugen. Rin's powers might be the thing that not only can help win the war, but also destroy her humanity as a whole, and so it's scary, but gods, powers, a bunch of different things, like this just screams perfect for me, and I am excited. This story also touches a lot upon the brutality and a horrific part of Asian history, which is still felt to this day, and so it is such an important novel that everyone should already be looking to read because it explores a lot of the trauma that people experienced. But let's just take this out. Ah, it fell. This is such a nice like hardback as well, because it's got like the embossed RFK for RF Kuang, and then the spine just looks, I love spines that are just like a different color to the actual like back. I don't know, it just makes, it's just really sexy. I'm just sad that I don't have the Dragon Republic in a matching thing. It's gonna be fine, it'll be great. We'll get it eventually. So, I'm gonna start the Poppy War. I will check back in after part 1. I am so scared. Welcome to my Poppy War reading vlog. Hi everyone, so I've just finished part 1 of the Poppy War. Oh my gosh, this book is so good. Like, there are so many things that I can say about the first 215 pages of this story. Like, we're almost technically halfway through this book. It's amazing. The world building is immaculate. R.F. Kuang is really able to ground us in the world straight away. The first chapter is really solid and really profound. I found that I was immediately invested in Rin's character, and I was immediately invested in her journey. And being the bi-disaster that she is, like, it's just amazing. And there was definitely a lot of commentary as well on classism and racial-based classism. The fact that education and the whole educational culture pressures students into unhealthy habits, such as Rin throughout the first chapter burns herself with hot wax in order to motivate herself. There's a lot of different things that is debated here and is talked about here, and I think it's just amazing to see that. And we also get debates on colorism and how in Asian cultures, usually if you had paler, whiter skin, it means you were more beautiful and more sought after because it showed that you didn't work in the sun as often, and so you led a sheltered life. There's just so many thoughts that I have. Like, Rin is amazing, Kite is amazing, Naja, I don't know. I still kind of think he's a bit of a classist prick. I'm kind of vibing from what the group chat have been saying. He's kind of like Ali from Davabad, where in book 1 he's a bit but then in books 2 and 3 he vastly improves. So far, this just has so much intrigue and so much like magic, and I found that SINEGUARD as a military school was really intriguing to read about as well, with the different classes they would take, such as strategies and combat and law. Like, law, intriguing, but I found that strategy was also a really in-depth class, and it really aided the world building as well through Rin being taught in SINEGUARD, and I just think that it's going to be amazing in parts 2 and 3, but also it's going to be very hard because apparently it just gets worse from here. And so yeah, I have a lot of predictions already that I have noted down. A lot of them are spoilery, so I can't really say anything, but I do think a lot of the characters that we have met so far are amazing. Kite, oh my god, Kite is just so cute and I just love him. He's just such a intelligent, soft boy, and he just wants to be Rin's friend, and I just love him. He's so cute, and I can't believe it took me so long to get into it. May has been screaming about me reading this for a year or 2 now. I'm finally getting into it and I'm really, really enjoying it, and it's just gonna be great. My plan now is to start part 2. Also tonight I have a live show to attend to. I am joining Mrs. Dunn Reads for her currently reading live show series, and I'll be joined by a various amount of other booktubers. I love the Poppy War. It's amazing. I cannot believe it's taken me so long to read it. Immaculate world building, immaculate character development. Oh my god, R.F. Kuang's writing is just amazing. There's a bluntness to it, but also it's very sharp at the same time. With R.F. Kuang's writing, it's like a blade, that looks dull but can stab you, and it's just, I can only aspire to write something like this one day, and I'm gonna catch up with you once I finish chapters 10 and 11, and we'll see what state I'm in then. So I finished chapter 11. There's a lot to process. This is a massive turning point, and I think from here everything's just gonna go down, and I'm not ready. I'm not ready for it. Jiang is such an amazing man. I love Jiang with everything. I have a few theories about him and his character, and I'm hoping that I'm right, purely because my theories are sometimes usually correct. So I do have theories about Jiang, and like Naja and Rin's dynamic is evolving into something else, and I think Naja is probably changing now. I think there's a lot to be said how war can change people, and how war has a massive influence on the brain and like psychological trauma. And I just think that Naja and Rin through war might come close together. I think Naja may have an entire personality change because of war. I think it's important to remember at this stage that this is influenced by Asian history, and that this is something that a lot of Asian people had to go through and they still feel the effects of to this day. So now I am going to read until the end of part 2, and then I will also be reading chapter 21 alongside of that. So we'll have my entire reaction to chapter 21 as well, because apparently that is the chapter that will destroy me. And so yeah, I will get to reading, and I will catch up with you all in a bit. So, we're now on part 3, and I've just finished chapter 21. War is awful, friends. There's so much to unpack. The magic system is being developed, which is exciting to see, and how each of the characters respectively gets their powers. We see a lot of interaction between Altan and Rin, which is really interesting, and the dichotomy between the two of them is also quite interesting to see, as well as how they both react to power. And then we got to chapter 21. It just shows the impact of war, and it shows how brutal and how horrific and how traumatic it can be for people, and how war just does nothing but breed chaos and destruction. And this is something that happened in early China, and it's something that people still feel to this day. I just feel really sorry for all of the characters. This story is amazing, I will say that. This story is written in such a brutally honest but also in a melodic way that it's just so beautifully crafted, and R.F. Kuang's world building again is commendable, and it's something that I think I like a lot more in adult fantasy as compared to YA fantasy. I think the one thing that R.F. Kuang also excels at is character building, and also making you feel for these characters. Actually, whilst we're on this whole tangent, we do need to talk about a lot of the historical context for the Poppy War, and especially with the chapter I just read, I think it's really, really important to highlight the impact of comfort women, and something that has been in a lot of Asian culture, not just like East Asian, but it trickles down into like South Asian and India as well. And I will link some resources down below that R.F. Kuang mentions that you should read. I will now get to finishing the Poppy War, and I will get back once I have finished that and we can do a little wrap up of the Poppy War before I then move on to the Dragon Republic. You know things are gonna get serious when I have caffeine and coffee as opposed to matcha. So this morning I finished the Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and this book is amazing. This succeeded any expectation that I had of this book. I think the one thing that does need to be made clear right now is that this is not an adventure fantasy. This is a book that shows the brutality and the consequences of war and tragedy and humans killing other humans. Like, R.F. Kuang based this off the rape of Nanking, which was a real thing that happened during the Sino-Japanese War. And it's something that isn't really highlighted a lot in historical texts, because as we know, historical accounts are very westernized, and I think that it is something that I want to read of a lot more, like read more widely, because as someone who likes reading literature, I also am inevitably interested in history and the whole historical context of books, and so I think I'll be doing a lot more research into the rape of Nanking and also a lot of the things that R.F. Kuang was inspired by, such as comfort women, and luckily R.F. Kuang has also given us a list of resources in the afterword to the Poppy War, and so I will include all of those books in the description down below, because there are going to be some that I'll be reading over the next few months. This was just amazing. This really showed the consequences of war, and it showed how war changes people. It shows the lengths and the measures people will go to in order to survive and keep themselves and their friends safe. And Rin is honestly one of the best protagonists I have ever read. Fong Runin is honestly just such an intriguing character. Her motivations are very clear. Honestly, the things that she does, she's completely justified in, and it's strange to think that what she does is justifiable, but it is, because if I was in that situation, I don't think I would be able to say that I wouldn't do what she did, and it's strange to think about that because I would never want to be in that situation. But again, many Chinese people were subjected to that, and it hurts it hurts. It just shows how like brutal people can be, and it shows how awful we can be to one another, and I don't understand why people would think that this was okay and this was something that they should and could do. It's awful, and it just shows the evil breeds everywhere. You don't need special powers, you don't need anything. Evil is just inherent in everyone, and some people can push it away and some people use it for good or for disaster. I don't want you to read this without being fully prepared for what you're going to read, and a lot of people did take a long time to read this. I read this within 24 hours. I would not recommend you read this within 24 hours. It is something that needs to be digested slowly, in my opinion. It's something that needs to be taken in. Although one thing that I'm really proud of is that I was able to predict quite a few things in this, and I was telling the group chat my thoughts, and they were all like, And I was like, does this mean I'm right? Does this mean I'm right? I think it's because I've been reading a lot of fantasy literature and I've just grown accustomed to being able to predict a lot of things, but also I'm a writer, and so I can see when they drop hints of foreshadowing and I'm like, I know what you are. Obviously I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. This is also another one that's going on the favorite shelf because this is just amazing. I really liked it, and it's weird to say that I liked something that was so brutal and so tragic, but at the same time I liked it because it didn't shy away from that. It really showed us everything, and again, R.F. Kuang's writing is just so brutally beautiful that I can't help but admire it, and it's something that I just adore. I realised that ILLUMICRATE did an edition of the Poppy War and the Dragon Republic with sprayed edges, and I'm so mad that I missed out on them. Like, Harper Voyager need to start reprinting the first book back in hardcover again, because along with The City of Brass, they're two books that a lot of people want to read and a lot of people want to get in hardcover, and so I think if Harper Voyager did do another print run, I think they would. As you can already see as well, I am dressed in blue. I've got a raincoat, trenchy coat on because it's to catch my tears that I'll be reading when I read the Dragon Republic. A lot of people have said that it is worse than the Poppy War. It is a lot more brutal, it is a lot more painful, and I am not ready. Ha 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 ha. I have a lot of predictions for the Dragon Republic, purely because it's called the Dragon Republic. But yeah, I just want Keith and Venka to be okay. I'm hoping we see Venka again, who knows? I'm just hoping for everyone to be okay, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm really scared. But yeah, no, this is also a thicker book. The Poppy War is 521 pages. This is 654, but we also have like a character thing at the back, so I might give this a read just before I start the Dragon Republic, just so that I'm reminded of all the characters' names, because I have forgotten a few. I just want to thank so much to the SINEGUARD Academians who have been witnessing my pain and the laughter that I have been shouting in the chat, because yeah, I'm really looking forward to further showcasing my pain in the Dragon Republic, and so yeah, let's get started. Howdy friends, I've just finished part 1 of the Dragon Republic. We're now going into part 2, however, like as per usual, I want to give like a little update. Part 1 was basically a lot of setup, but it also handled a lot of new character development. We also got a bit of a kind of reminder about a lot of the things that happened in the Poppy War, but also I like the fact that we didn't shy away from addiction and drug addiction, and also drug withdrawal, and the fact that it is a grueling process and it is something that is difficult and it's hard, and I really like that. But also the fact that power is kind of like a drug itself, not just power but also approval and a bunch of different things that can feed into one's ego, and it's just really exciting to see. And like I said, this is a lot of setup, I think, for the rest of the novel and how that's gonna go. I'm also kind of maybe shipping Rin and Naja together. I'm so sorry to Naja, who, I mean, war changed him, war has changed him, war has changed everyone. But also we got a mention of colonization and how white people colonized. Also we get introduced to Eridan, who I like him. He's kind of like this really cool teacher figure. Suni is just a soft boy, and I love him. I love him so much. He's just, I want to hug him. I want him to hug me. I want him to hug me. Please don't kill him, Rebecca. Please don't kill him. Although I cannot trust you, Rebecca. I'm so sorry, but like someone is dying It is really intriguing, and now we're plunging ourselves into another war, which isn't really going to do well for Rin's character. I don't know, I'm really, really excited to see what happens next. I also think I'm going to suffer a lot throughout this. It's going to be great, it's going to be fun. I'm hoping to finish part 2 tonight and maybe get to about halfway through part 3 by the end of tonight, so that I can like wake up tomorrow morning, finish off the Dragon Republic and start the Burning God. Or maybe even if I finish the Dragon Republic tonight, who knows, I might stay up. The more I read this series, the more I realize how much suffering I'm putting myself through. But at the same time, it makes me also realize that I'm quite a cold-hearted bitch and that this series is only deepening that. But also at the same time, that bird flew so close to the window. I just don't like where this is heading at all, and yeah. So I'm gonna get to reading and I'll catch up with you at the end of part 2. So, I finished part 2 of the Dragon Republic, and it was fun. I was okay. I was fine going through it. Some parts I was like, other parts I was just like, But then the ending of part 2, it's a lot. It's a lot, but we are seeing a lot of parallels with the Poppy War and certain characters. And again, we've been plunged into this whole new war, and we again see how war changes certain people, but also we get to see a lot of development of the characters that we know and we love. Like Kite and Naja and Rin, like we see them develop as people and also develop as people. It's just exciting to see, and I think that we definitely see a growth in the relationships between each of these characters. We definitely see their ideologies being tested against one another, and also, I was just reminded, white people. We get to see white people, and they're just as infuriating as I remember. There are so many things in part 2 that are basically, I think, now building up towards part 3. I think it's going to hurt. I think this is what the book has been building up towards. We have a lot of build-up of conflict and a lot of build-up of plot. We're about to see, I think we're about to see some heavy battles, and we're about to see something that might change the game. I've realized it really feels like history is repeating itself in the Dragon Republic, but so far this has just been stellar. Again, R.F. Kuang's writing shines and is amazing and is beautifully tragic and brutal. But yeah, we have about 200 pages left. I'm gonna get to you after my suffering, and we'll see what happens. So, I just finished The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang, and I suffered. This book really said, you think you suffered through the Poppy War? Think again, because the Dragon Republic's just gonna deliver on a whole new level. The ending definitely solidified the 5-star rating that I'm going to give it. It is just, again, brutally beautiful, and again, it showcases the effects of war and the effects of tyranny, but also, this showcases the effects of colonization, and it showcases how white people have been super awful to everyone. We do not forget for a second that white people are the oppressors, like the ultimate oppressor, and so I just have no words for how amazing this book is. Like, again, this book is brutal. There's a lot of trigger warnings that come with this series. I can say a few of my predictions were correct, unfortunately, and I want death. I am never gonna be able to look at dumplings the same way again. Like, I'm still gonna probably want to eat dumplings. I might eat dumplings tonight for dinner. I'm just never gonna be able to look at them and not think about that. I'm super happy that I read this. Like, it's beautiful, it's amazing. Rin is honestly just such an iconic person. And Kite, I feel like book 1 Kite was like, ooh, he was like, ooh, oh, well, I'm shy. And book 2 Kite is like, fuck this, fuck you, fuck this. Kite has just gone from like 0 to 100 really fast, and I love that for him. And yeah, there's just so many other characters I'd love to murder and kill and maim, and yeah, and it was just really cool and really awesome. And now it's going to be really exciting to see how this all ends, because I don't really see how this is going to end, like who's going to come out on top, who's going to win, and I'm scared. I'm so scared. Over the past few months, I've literally been seeing Rebecca on Twitter kind of like teasing everyone, and me knowing I was going to eventually make this vlog, I've been scared for a while. I've been really scared, and my friends are scared, and now I've overtaken a lot of my friends who have been reading this. So we are now moving on to The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. This is an e-advanced reader's copy that was kindly given to me by Harper Voyager, so I'd like to thank them for also making this trilogy reading vlog possible. I decided to go with the UK cover to make a bookish outfit of, because 1, I'm British, but also 2, I don't own any purple shirts. Or I don't really own much purple clothing. That is something I'm gonna have to rectify for future bookish outfits. The cover just looks amazingly gorgeous. Rin is carrying the sword, like she's got her hand in a fist, I think. Rebecca literally says, "To my dear readers who stayed with this series until the end and came prepared for buckets for their tears." Like, how am I supposed to cope with that? How am I supposed to survive? I'm not going to survive. Like, I won't die. But yeah, I guess this is it. Let's start The Burning God. Just a second, right before I start The Burning God, I wanted to talk about some of the historical context behind the Dragon Republic, and Tiffany from Read by Tiffany very kindly explained to me some of the historical context behind it. And so, the Dragon Republic, but also The Burning God, is inspired by the Chinese Civil War that took place after World War II, when Imperial Japan had left. The Republic of China and the Chinese Communist Party was basically at arms with one another, fighting and all of that in a Chinese civil war. I don't know, I think reading this series has kind of also made me realise how westernized a lot of the books that we read and a lot of the history that we learn is. Like, I remember we would touch upon like Egyptian like history and stuff in like very low years of school, but then when you start to like go higher up in schools, the only history that we basically learned was either American history or British history. Like, it's very westernized, and like we don't really get to learn a lot more about the other types of history, like Egyptian history, Chinese history, Japanese history, Korean history, like history from other cultures. And I think it's really, really sad, because there is so much magic and there's so much like intrigue that we can learn from other civilizations that we just don't do it. Yeah, so I'm gonna get to reading The Burning God and we shall see what happens. Hi everyone, so I just finished part 1 of The Burning God by Kuang, and I am angry, I am mad at certain characters. However, we do see a lot of parallels between the Poppy War and The Burning God, like kind of the same similar thing with the City of Brass, but I think that it's just really nice to see that kind of parallel, and it really brings the whole trilogy into a full circle kind of thing. Like, we're introduced to some new characters, we get to see a whole new character dynamic, and it's just really nice to see. And we see Rin kind of reflecting on her self-hatred and kind of showing that like she was wrong in some ways that she thought about certain things, and it's amazing. We also see a greater influence on religion in this, and how Rin is journeying through her own belief in shamanism and also the white people's religion and how they're trying to spread it, and it's just really intriguing to see the parallels between the both of them. I will say though that Rin can't strategize to save her life. She cannot strategize to save her life, and I think it's her fatal flaw. I think Rin's fatal flaw is the fact that she doesn't really like listening to other people, and that she thinks that power is absolute and power is the thing that will solve everything. However, it doesn't. It really doesn't. And I think this is what this novel is trying to prove, that power is not the only thing that you need in order to 1, rule, and 2, command an army, and 3, win. Like, power, yes, is amazing and is great, but you also need a bunch of other things in order to consolidate that power. It's scary to think about what it might happen. I would continue reading on tonight, however, it is 2:10 and I want to like get some sleep, and so I will probably wake up quite early tomorrow anyway, because I usually do, and then I'll continue reading this. So good night everyone, good night friends, and I will catch up with you once I've woken up and have read part 2 of The Burning God. Hi everyone, so we just finished part 2 of The Burning God, and I'm feeling extremely vindicated right now. I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling great. I'm extremely scared for part 3, because if I'm feeling happy, I shouldn't be feeling happy. I should be feeling sad. I should be crying. But like, I'm happy. Rebecca! I'm going to cry, like, oh my god. We see a lot of war, but also we see a lot of political intrigue in the second part. We see how Rin is trying to navigate between the real world, but also the spiritual world in terms of her allies, and it's just really exciting to see kind of the background as to how certain things came to be. I still have one last theory, but I don't think it's going to happen. But the whole thing about history repeating itself, yeah, it's still kind of happening because of the way things are going. History is repeating itself in a different way, but still, it's bad. It's just a lot of pain, but also it's been really good to read this part because it shows how much the power of the people matter and how much people will rally together. Also, we do have this whole colonialism narrative that is going on, and it really speaks to the effects of colonialism and also post-colonialism that we see today, and specifically how white people try to assimilate their cultures into other cultures and try to make other societies like their own because they thought they were very backwards and very primitive. And we lose a lot of culture. We have lost so much culture in our world because of that. And so reading this in the Poppy War, reading this in the Burning God, it's just like, think of how much culture is going to be lost now because of the white people. And it's it's sad to see. And like post-colonialism is something that I like studying at university, and so you can definitely, I say it again, I could write an entire essay on this trilogy. I could write an entire thing on this trilogy. I'm kind of now looking at this and really wanting to do my master's thesis, if I do a master's, on like commentary in science fiction fantasy, because I'd love to talk about racism and classism and post-colonialism and kind of all of this. And I know a master's thesis I think is 15,000 words, so I could do that. I'm so scared. Like everyone talks about the ending of this book being brutal but also beautiful but also sad, and I'm not ready. I mean, the Empire of Gold. I love these characters so much. Like, I find Rin such a relatable protagonist. Not in the sense that some of the things that she did, but her constant need for survival and her initial self-hatred of who she was and her kind of drive to always be better than other people and kind of prove that she is just as good as those who are typically above her station. And I just think that she is just such an admirable person. She is also a villain, like let's be clear about that. She does some things that are really bad. I just think that R.F. Kuang has such a way with her character building that is just so good, and I love it. And plus, I'm hoping like, her Dark Academia novel is just gonna be amazing. I can already tell. She followed me on Twitter yesterday, which was a surreal experience. Like, I can't even begin. I'm not ready. I'm really not ready. It's fine. It is completely okay. It's not okay. It's not okay whatsoever. Like, so I finished The Burning God by R.F. Kuang, and I'm never recovering. I am never recovering from this series. R.F. Kuang just has a way with words that literally sings to the soul. It is so amazing how she has crafted this story. It is amazing how she has made this world and made it so believable to an audience. And I am honestly so in debt to all of these characters for just such a fantastic story. Like, the Poppy War and the Dragon Republic were honestly just so amazing, and The Burning God just took it to a whole other level as well. Like, it just got better as you went through the trilogy, and I loved it so much, and I just cannot wait to see what R.F. Kuang writes next. I also found that there is a lot of relation to Chinese history and also Chinese mythology throughout these books, and I feel like it's something that I want to look more into now because I find that, but yeah, this trilogy was just so amazing. Rin is such a believable protagonist, and her descent into villainy is just amazing, and I love the way her character was crafted, and just how, I don't know, each and every character was just so believable, and Kite and Naja and Venka and all of these other characters are just so gorgeously crafted, and I am just amazed by R.F. Kuang's writing. And also the world was just so beautifully woven. It spoke a lot to Chinese history, as aforementioned, and I just think that it's going to be amazing to reread this series eventually and do a deeper analysis of it, because I'm probably going to be using this for one of my university assignments as well. So it's just gonna be really cool and really sweet. And again, I'm looking forward to seeing what R.F. Kuang writes next. I know she's currently working on a dark academia novel, and as someone who loves dark academia, like, how could I resist? How could I resist? The Poppy War does stand to be one of my favourite adult fantasy trilogies, alongside the David trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. It's just such a amazing story, and I'm so happy that I finally read it. I think May and every other SINEGUARD Academian is very, very happy that I've read it, and I hope I've done everyone proud, and I'm hoping this vlog turns out really nice as well. And it's just amazing, and I cannot believe that it's over now. Like, what do I do with myself? What do I do now? And so yeah, that brings it to the end of this reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, why don't you try clicking that subscribe button so that you're notified whenever I upload next. This week's shout out fates goes out to the SINEGUARD Academians, and I will have their links in the description down below. I don't think I could have gone through this trilogy without them. Like, they are just such an amazing support group, and their reactions to my reactions was just pure gold, and the memes that I've been sending them have been amazing. And so I can't wait for them to also finish The Burning God now, because I've overtaken quite a few of them in the reading progress, so I now get to watch them suffer as they have watched me suffer, and that is going to be amazing. If you wanted to follow me on any other social media platforms, I'll have all those links in the description down below, as well as my Ko-fi and Amazon wishlist link, which you can use to donate any amount of money or books, which will be used to improve this channel. And so yeah, I am just really excited to read. I don't know what I'm going to be reading next. Maybe The House in the Cerulean Sea or The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics. So yeah, I guess until the next video. Bye, friends.